food. I grew up in a household that was vegetarian, and my stepmom owned a health food shop in Burnley in the 80s, so you can imagine how poor we were. But I have grown up with not going to supermarkets and things like that, and being involved in vegetables, and I ran a box bean for 6 years. And it's really important that we don't support these. It is difficult. I'm not saying, there's no. I'm not saying that people shouldn't do that, but the more we put into localization and the more we support local things, the more powerful we become in terms of our happiness and our wealth and moving forward. So all that health thing was a real takeaway for me this morning. The second thing is, and I think that this is a real key thing, is just stepping out of fear. And, those people who are actually going into court and doing that real frontline work and standing in front of these people who are absolutely corrupt for whatever reason, they have absolutely no fear. And I think sovereignty for me is the lack of fear. And you can just be yourself and do what you think is right. And it's being open-hearted with that lack of fear. So my little story is in 1997 I found about the New World Order. And I had all that. It was called The Plan for the 21st Century. And I read a document by Condoleezza Rice and Donald Rumsfeld. And they changed the name of it along the way. But I lived all the way up until 2020, from 1997, not talking to nobody. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I had one labeller who's now 94. I used to talk to him about it. Everybody else just wouldn't. I was a conspiracy theorist. And when COVID came along, I was in massive fear of the medical tyranny, because I'd had all this baggage that I'd been carrying around for 23 years. And I went to see somebody, and I did my own shadow work. I did my own work on my own fear. And I actually went and said to somebody, I need help. And I was vulnerable in that space. I need to get out of this, because there's all this tyranny coming ahead. And this woman helped me get rid of my fear. And I came out of that session, 3.5 hours I spent with that amazing woman. And I came out and I had no fear at all. And when people, I've got no fear at all. It's literally, if I get killed, I'm going to come back and start doing the same work again. I've got to that stage where I'm just like, you know what, I'm done, I'm all in, I'm sovereign, and I'm going to do whatever I want. And yes, I've got to navigate, and these amazing people are helping us navigate through these crazy waters. I have no fear whatsoever. And I think true sovereignty starts with actually shedding. Don't worry about these people at all. I've got debt collectors who come to my house. I've been blooded once. One came in my house. That was horrible. That was nasty. They called the police on me, because I was the aggressor. I did a little bit of a mind trick on him and got rid of him. Now, with the debt collectors, we don't answer the door, because it's energetic, right? We just don't answer the door, and they just leave. And they've clamped my car, I've taken the clamp off the car. You just give them no energy whatsoever, and they will go away.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something that you could add to that, and something that you told me, that when they got into his house, mob handed he had all kinds of expensive equipment lying around him. They didn't touch it. They're not interested. It's not a monetary thing for them. It's psycho-torture. It's called agitation of the masses. Yeah. They don't want they will clamp a car, but if you've got a clamp, put your own clamp on, there's only 30 quid, right? Cars, they will take, but they won't touch anything in your house. For lots of reasons, it's because they're personal belongings. They're not goods. So, yeah, they're just on...
He's agreeing with you.
Yeah, the obsoletes, as I call them, because they are obsolete now, they run a program, they have a playbook. It's a playbook, it's the same over and over and over and over again. It's a psychopathic consciousness. And once you understand that it's a psychopathic consciousness, you can actually address it, and you can go, well, they're doing that, they're doing that, they're doing that. And just like they were saying, with the debt collectors, they're just agents. They're just agents, they're just running the same program. They'll come to your door, and they'll put you into fear straight away. And it is difficult, it's hard, it's a tough gig. yeah, that first time, and you've got that intimidating person there, they put you into the front row, so you've got no critical thinking, and you're just like, whoa. It's actually about not engaging with them at all, not answering the door, keeping it. I mean, the guy, I've got one of those doors that just doesn't lock, you know, yeah. And we were outside, and I walked into my house, and as I was walking down the hall, he was right behind me because I hadn't locked my door. Yeah. So the key is, it's a very simple rule. Don't let them in, don't talk to them, lock your door. That's it. They're not going to stand there forever. So, you know, that fear is all gone with me, and I think it's a really good starting point to actually have no fear.
We had this conversation on Lawful Remedy on one occasion, and I recall Richard Vobes saying, he said, would it be a good idea to go outside and to bring some biscuits and cups of tea and sit down and say, would you like a cup of tea, and kill them with kindness? And I said, that sounds like a really good idea. I don't know how they'd respond to it. I don't imagine they would stick around unless they thought they were going to get you to comply.
Can we bring someone in? Because I know you've gone through this. Were you into it?
Desperation, because I've had a couple of warrants out.
Stand up on
Sorry. Yes, so I've currently got a warrant out for my arrest. And they've currently crashed my car. And I used to love my car because I'm a bit of a free spirit, so if I want to go somewhere, I used to like doing it. But it hasn't actually stopped me. I'm still here today. I'm just a little bit more dependent on having to do any energy exchanges to get myself around. The last time I went into court, 3 security guards actually carried me out and dumped me on the pavement. And I had a bit of a lull of energy for the first hour or two after that. I felt a bit deflated. I felt I'd lost the situation. But then I thought, no, not really. I'm still standing. I'm still alive. What actually can they do for me? And having worked, I was a businesswoman before COVID, and I used to go into things always with the mantra, what's the worst that can happen? And if you can build that into your mindset, as the panel was saying, it really does come from the knowing that you are the authority of this. If you can basically challenge all of their authority, whether it's a letter that's come through your door, if it's a conversation that you're having with them, and what we do is we legitimise what they're doing because there's a group of them and they've written a piece of paper which states that they've got the authority to tell you what to do. But if 5 or 6 of us got together and we all wrote a bit of paper saying, right, well, next week we're going to fine you, or you're going to be in big trouble if you don't wear pink shoes, then you laugh at us. But we just assume that because they've written these bits of paper called legislation, that they've got some right to do it. Because they're the liars in the situation, usually within their legislation, if you want to go down the route of actually reading the rules, there is usually some cop-out or some definition which leaves the door open for you, because the legislation that they were originally writing is there for our protection. So, for instance, they cannot persecute you using a piece of secondary legislation because we've got primary legislation which gives them the right to write the secondary legislation. So if you can revert back to the things like the Bill of Rights and where they get their power from, we are the creators of the power that we give them, even in legal or lawful terms. And really, apart from that lull, because there was a period at the start of this year that I did think that I was going to end up in jail. And then I thought, if I do, it's 3 months, it might be 6 weeks, it might be 6 days, but it's peace and quiet. I'm going to get all my dinners cooked for me and delivered by a young man in uniform, which cannot be bad. So I just, once you turn it around and you start to take some humour out of it, you put some humour into it, then it does give you a completely different energy when you're walking with it. Start with mindset. You are sovereign. You don't have to choose to be sovereign. You were born with power, and it's only by hijacking that they've managed to take it away.
Can I just add something to the idea? Legislation is not written for us, it's written for corporations.
Correct.
It's written for corporations. And the reason you got dumped, you got manhandled out of the court, correct me if I'm wrong, is you went in as a woman.
Yeah. They said the second time in this particular court, they put a warrant out for my arrest for non-appearance. So I had witnesses with me. So the Crown Prosecutor actually perjured himself. So the second time I went back into the courtroom for another little spat with them, this time they couldn't give me a warrant for my arrest for non-appearance because I'd already pointed out that he'd perjured himself. So on the second occasion, they asked me can you state your name? So I said, well, can you ask me what you mean by you? And
who is you?
Who's you? So the legal advisor to the bench was saying, this. She didn't actually say whether she meant the legal fiction or the woman. So I maintained my position, and this time the Crown Prosecutor interestingly said, we're going to put a warrant out for your arrest because we can't proceed. And of course they can't proceed because they can't do anything factual in a fictional world. So I said, well, if you're going to arrest me, I'll just have a seat and go and get the police for me, please. So he said, no, we're not going to do that. So I just sat still, and they've got the security guards to carry me out and put me on the pavement. And I'm assuming that there's a warrant out for my arrest, but I actually don't care now. I'm just going to live my life.
Donnelly, can I ask, did you take your birth certificate?
Yeah, I did. I took the birth certificate.
And did you refer to it?
Yes, I said that they asked me what I do the same routine, and I've had some success with the police when I had a roadside interview with them, and they asked me what my name is, and I said, well, I don't have a name. I said, but my mum called me, Donnelly, what's your date of birth? I can't tell you that because I don't have the birth certificate on me, and so I don't know the date that the date it was registered, but I can tell you the day that I was born, and it was the 18th of October 1964, but that's only hearsay because I was little, and it's just what my mum told me. And I've done it so many times now and recorded the conversations, and I've said it to people every time in the courts, to the police, and they know me, and they just roll my eyes now. They roll their eyes at me as if to say, here she's going to say, when we ask her date of birth, she's going to go, well, it was only hearsay, my mum told me.
Well, can I take this to another level? Right, so this is evidence of birth, but it's not evidence of identity. Therefore, if they're asking you to confirm your name, it's not my name. I didn't create it. So you can ask the judge or whatever pillock is in front of you. Right? Say, so are you trying to entrap me? Well, what do you mean, entrap me? Well, you're asking me to commit identity fraud. Here's the evidence that the person that's registered in the system was birthed all those years ago, too many to know. And here I am. You may call me David, you may call me Donnelly. Where are we? Are we in a jurisdiction of living men and women on land and soil, or are we in a corporate fiction venue of commerce? Where are we?
I also took some other identification. I put it on an A4 sheet of paper. I pricked myself with a pin, put some blood on it, pulled a hair out, bit my fingernail, a lips of paper, stuck sellotape all over it. So when they asked me for my identification, I said, well, I've got all my DNA here. And they said, well, we can't accept that. And I said, well, if I'd committed a murder, we would have accepted it.
Donnelly, another question. Did you give notice of intention to make a special appearance?
No, I just said I was here
Right.
under special appearance.
No, well, that's why you got dumped. Because if you give them minimum 14 days notice of intention to make a special appearance, special meaning man, woman, private, right? He would have been it would have changed everything. Now, I can't tell you what the outcome would have been, but it would have changed things because they're such wankers. That if you do things according to that protocol, which is 14 days notice, then you are allowed in as a man or woman, in which case you can play this birth certificate game and you won't get dumped out of court because you're just following up on the protocol. Yeah? So, do you want to speak to Donnelly, the woman, or do you want to deal with a piece of paper? If you deal with a piece of paper, then you clearly don't need it. I shall leave the piece of paper, talk to the piece of paper because the face isn't listening. Thank you very much. I declare this case dismissed with extreme prejudice. Yeah? So you can, it's your court at the end of the day, you're the sovereign. So, and the other thing that Stephen will talk you through at some point is that as time goes by, we've got our own identity cards for those who are moving on to land and soil. Officially, I mean, it's an official thing. Unofficially, we're already on it. But officially, we've got land and soil identity, which could be part of our package to keep the beast at bay. Yeah. So.
Well, can I just also add that because their system is narcissistic,
Can't hear you, Dominic.
because the system is so narcissistically based, if you think about what energy, what spirit is driving that spirit of narcissism, these are people that on the inside, although they've got these grandiose egos and these inflated personalities, on the inside they're trending people who kind of hate themselves. So if you can play into that and disarm them by kind of like ridiculing their stupidity in a way, it's a bit like, I put things in very simple terms, but it's a bit like the Wizard of Oz. It was only a bucket of water that melted the evil witch. So if you can disarm them by pointing out how stupid they're being, how silly, and I use a lot of sarcasm with that, or just pointing out things that I think are really obvious that they didn't see. So Sook says this, Geddes says this regularly. Once you start having fun with it, it's really entertaining.
Okay. One quick question about the birth certificate in court. Does it have to be an app-style version, or can you use the copy that you were given originally, as it were?
Well, a certified true copy should be enough.
It should. Okay. Thank you.
Right. So one of the reasons we're here is we've all gone on these sort of bumbling journeys into their system. To go in and have plays with the psychopaths, and it's not easy. I went to Peterlee Magistrates Court, nervous. It's like it's worse than doing finals at university. As it happens, I've got 24,000 people on my mailing list and 170,000 people on Twitter or whatever. So I've got bite, in a way that most people haven't got. So I can have fun in ways that people can't do. So I put the word out to my mailing list. Would you like to come to the Manx Court to hear a council tax liability order hearing at 2 p.m, whatever day it was? I went to Buxton afterwards. Anyway, 20 people turned up. One of my friends turned up in a bowler hat. Another one who's got all these face tattoos and actually turned up in a nun's habit. They absolutely freaked out. There were 20 of us come to this hearing. Now, the case law says if there's space in the room and you're not going to disturb the hearing, they have to let you in. Yeah? It's, they just declared, oh, we only let 5 in because they've got 5 seats now. But any empty seats that I knew before they kept me till last. The lady too before me, she worked for Amazon. She went in there to plead that she had no money. It was like she was a slave, basically a slave job. That this paying counter tax would just destroy her, and that they didn't give a shit. You know, gives you money. This guy in front of me, Gaz, he spotted that the council guy turned up in the same car as one of the magistrates. I afterwards asked them to preserve the CCTV evidence, and they stonewalled me.
Wow.
Anyway, I turned up. I'm coming, nicely well dressed. I've got a background of doing proper professional life. So I came up in professional mode. I've got a Bible with me. Right? There's 3 of these magistrates there: a bully guy, a weak guy, and a woman. I say I'm there for special appearance. I've got a little piece of paper. Yeah, it's my mate, called birth certificate. I don't accept any responsibility for this sort of trust you've got, but I'm here just to have a little laugh with you. And they say, what's your name? Are you asking to consent or anything? No. Oh, thank you for that fraud. But it's really hard. You have to stand your ground. Yeah. It's really, really hard. I slept about 2 hours beforehand. At one point, the magistrate got frustrated because I was playing the game better than them, and he said, look, we're here to collect money. I asked him what his name was, wouldn't tell me. I asked him if he's there under oath, and he gave me a long-winded answer that wasn't yes or no. They were nervous. I could see that the woman mag, because not all the people are reading, they're just brainwashed, yeah? But I could see that she has. Also, I wrote to the court before, to the council saying, when did you issue the summons versus when did you approve it?
Yeah.
They wouldn't answer, because of course I know that they'd issued it before they approved it. So I said, actually, I want this all to be suspended because I want to be able to go and do the due process to find out when the summons came. No, I don't want that. So the CPR rolls out the window. Yeah, don't give her that.
Yeah.
It's but you could see the woman there. She was getting more and more nervous. She knew. I kept going due process. Yeah, she knew something was wrong, and part of what we're doing is turning up to educate them in an appropriate, loving way.
Yeah.
She won't forget that. Funnily enough, I mean, they still issued the thing, but I've now, one of the people who came, I didn't know this, recorded the whole thing as well. So I've actually got a very poor audio quality recording of it all. I told them in advance, by the way, there's all these offences you're committing by holding this hearing, some of which have life imprisonment terms. So we have the evidence bodies sat there. At any moment can be sprung on them. If there's military activity in the background watching all this stuff, it's treason. It's not good. So, yeah, but boy, does that... You have to get through those first few little occasions of standing up against them and realising the only power they've got is to lift you up and put you out on the pavement. That's the worst they can do to you. And it hurts, yeah, emotionally it hurts.
Over the last 4 years, I was telling Dean on the way down, my dogs, because I know they're watching me, because of, like, obviously this comment that my son had made, and also I know that they've pulled me over on the side of the road at weird times. My car's been, they've been checking my car before they chose to crush it. And for instance, my dogs ran out into a little bit of the estate that I was living on and chased a cat. So I ended up with a PCSO turning up at my door, and this cat was unfortunately the cat was frightened. I think one of my dogs had bitten the ankle of the cat, so I took the cat to the vet, paid for the vet bill, told the vet to tell the owner where I lived. I did all the responsible stuff, and the cat was fine. It was like a minor thing. So 2 days later, I got a visit at my house from the PCSO saying, I've come to talk to you about your naughty dogs. So I said, have you ever actually watched Tom and Jerry? I said, because the dog chases the cat, and the cat chases the cat. And that's just nature. So could you just get off my land, please? 3 days later, I had another visit from, I wasn't there, someone else was. There were 2 police officers and some vigilante neighbours. They were discharged again. 4 days after that, I got a visit from the, he was the Chief Inspector of Northamptonshire Police and a police constable who said to me that my dogs were dangerous and that they were going to seize them. They don't meet the definition for dangerous dogs, and I just asked him to get off my land. It's just intimidation.
Right, so they like to threaten.
Yeah,
They tend, and sometimes they can follow through. This is why you have witnesses on the previous occasion with the permit, right? So the witnesses is essential. Yeah, it's,
witness everything. Witness, advocate, record, document, evidence, and notify warden. So every time, if it's a phone call, if it's an interaction with them, make sure that you have got. I'll repeat it. It's witness. Make sure you've got witnesses. Make sure that you've got somebody to advocate for you so you don't have to engage with them necessarily. Record everything you do. Document it, then you've got your evidence, and then you can notify them that you've got the witnesses and the evidence.
An evening court. So one of the things, I went to a little course a month or two ago about everyone that's gathering. So I've now got one of those little voice memo recorders, yeah? It's like, if you can record in court if you're presenting a crime. So normally they could bang you up, but if they're committing a crime themselves in court, you can record it. Little piece of tip I got, which was, if you can record stuff, then if you record it on your phone, it's a problem, because the primary evidence is your phone. Right? So you need to now, because your phone sees the primary evidence. Yeah? It's, what you need to do is you need to have the little SD card. If you've got an iPhone, it's no good, yeah? It's, if I've got my audio recorder, it's in my bag now, then if it's on the little SD card, I can take it out, put it into the evidence bag, done with primary evidence for prosecution, yeah? So there's a literacy, I never knew that. I just sit there on my phone, don't I? Just put a video mode and boom, yeah? That I was completely oblivious to all this stuff. But you have to go out there and do it to learn it. And inevitably, you're going to fumble around, not get everything right, and you're going to look at yourself afterwards thinking, I'm a bit incompetent, yeah? It's, that's okay, that's why we come to these events, to kind of get ourselves through it.
I just wanted to make a point. I mean, I'm not going to go into my history too much, but I have had some history with the police, and I've been wrongfully arrested and abused by the police. What I will say about the police, because they do have a very difficult job, and they are just learning protocols, and for me, it's never personal. But my last run-in with the police, what I did, because my debt collector called the police on me, because I wasn't very happy, and he said, "You're a threat." The police came along and they were completely in cahoots with the debt collector. Yeah. So what I did, before I let them into my house, and I think the recording thing is really important because I was using my phone, but I said to them, "What's your number? What's your name? What's the station you're from? And what is your, can I see your card? Can I see your ID card? And also, are you under your oath today?" So what we're doing is we're making the system accountable for itself in truth and law. That's what we're actually doing. And so I did all that, and the guy said, "Yes, I'm under my oath." He's the good cop. The bad cop, he did not want to say he was under his oath. Yeah? And I said, you're both going to be accountable for any harm that you do in this situation at all. But that guy there, I kept saying, and after 3 times I said to him, "I've asked you 3 times that are you standing under your oath?" And you said no, so I'm going to take that as a no. You know, so it's really important to have, you know, if you do get in really difficult situations, you do those things. You actually do those. They're the things that you do. Every single policeman, and they'll just go, "This guy is totally like, he's just put a line in the sand, and this is where he stands, and this is where you stand." And they have the protocols. They will respond to you doing that. And you put them on notice.
I'll just jump in that the way I approach it is similar, but the way I approach it, if needed, it's not always appropriate, right, depending on certain situations. If I'm not the one being attacked, it's someone else, you don't necessarily get in someone else's way if they're handling it, and it's a different situation. Don't just jump in and make it worse. Don't create controversy, right? But if it's me, if they're addressing me, the first thing I say to him, I don't ask him if he's standing on his, I tell him. So I say, "I bind you to your oath of office. Here and now is the day you first made it. Do you understand?" Because that's what they do to us. And then I say it 3 times, and on the 3rd time of asking, if he doesn't say yes, I say, "Well, now you're not acting as an officer of the law, are you?" Right? So it's misconduct in public office. That's what it is. So I'm just letting you know that, and I have a recording, and you will, in due process, will take place.
Can I, 2 things, taking up the idea of sovereignty and the idea of what Martin was talking about. Sovereignty, Eli's what it is, but I'd like to address what it isn't. And the first thing that sovereignty isn't is answering questions. Whether they are addressed to you in person or in writing. The minute you, even opening the post is wrong, as we've said before. But let's level the playing field. Let's just generalise. The minute you answer a question, you have lost your sovereignty. It doesn't matter who is asking the question, or did you ever hear the Queen answer a question? I never did. So the minute you answer a question, you think you're being polite. No, you're giving away your sovereignty. So the correct answer is another question. Who are you? Why do you want to know? So it's a social worker coming for your kids. Who are you? What claim are you making over my property? Yeah? And so always answer a question with a question, and keep on doing it the way Martin did it. So that comes to my second point, that his was a total success story. Now the skeptics will say, yeah, but they still issued a liability order. Well, they're in a different world. In his world, he asserted his sovereignty. So it's total success. And the fact that it didn't prevent the paperwork going through, it just highlights the fact that two worlds are at play. There's a world that they operate is based on a presumption and assumption, and there's the world that we're re-establishing, which is based on fact. And those two worlds are separating very fast. That's why you won't be going to court. You will not be going to court ever again. Because you'll be, why would you want to step back into a fictional, fraudulent world based on presumption and assumption? You want to stay in fact, in truth. Yeah? Surely. That's why we're here.
Just adding to that, actually, the whole thing about asking questions. Think about the word as.
King.
Simple. Says it all.
Can you say I don't answer questions?
Lady in the
Yeah.
back.
Yes, I don't. I'm not here to answer questions today.
Yeah.
I don't answer.
Lady in the back with the green.
Yeah, it's just a quickie really. I don't really use a mobile phone, so a lot of it, someone knocks on the door, you'll be there, I usually won't have a witness, and I don't have a phone.
To get a
Is that a
recording
problem,
device.
or do you just write things down?
Get a recording device.
Did you answer the door?
Well, I mean, it's a hypothetical situation.
Well,
No, I haven't been in that.
Answering the door is a surrender of sovereignty.
Okay, I've got no right of access.
Yeah, but answering the door is a surrender of sovereignty. It's from a safe distance, from a window above, halt, who goes there, friend or foe. That's the traditional. We're at war. We're at war. Peacetime protocols have been abandoned for many years. Right?
So, everywhere I go, yeah, I've got thousands of pounds of camera kit in my car. That can be replaced, yeah? It's like, there's a reason I've got my laptop home with me at all times. Yeah? It's, not just I want to keep on my laptop, it's because I've got my evidence kit with me, yeah? It's, so, if you're going to, it's just a standard audio. Yeah, so if you're going to do this stuff seriously, you have to kind of be ready prepared for the job, yeah? And it's 50 quid.
Do you not
So,
what name is it?
there's a little Sony one, yeah, little audio recorder, I can press record at any moment, yeah, off we go.
It's like when you go to battle, you don't go empty-handed, do you?
Right, now, some of my mates up in Palnackie in Scotland are having all kinds of fabulous battles, which are lovely, right? But one of them is very sensible. He's got a 2G kind of phone, old-fashioned feature phone, doesn't have a smartphone, very well, he's saving a lot of problems. And it goes everywhere in one of these. Now, they had this incident where agents of Scottish Water came and blocked the harbour and did all kinds of illegal stuff. And there was a kerfuffle and an arrest. He had it all recorded. I can then publish the recording, forget the legal process, just publishing it. They've started to behave themselves really well, right? Because now it's out there, like it's a PR problem for them. So it isn't just, what I'm finding is there's a dual part of this. There's the direct impact you have of turning up in the court and asserting your sovereignty and saying no thank you. Then there's the indirect part, which is the publicity you can generate from it, and the multiplier effect. And when you tell 100 other people, even my mum gets the idea that council tax liability orders are a problem, right? Now, she knows that the system is corrupt, whereas before, everyone has to pay council tax. So by gathering the evidence and sharing it as well, and sharing your stories, and other people then see it and copy it, the impact is way more than just one person turning up and being persecuted. Yeah? So it's the two of them, publicity as well as the direct impact.
Just comment on that. So, you have the right to remain silent. You do not have any obligation to interact with these people. So, just be aware on that, what should I say, what should I not say. You have the right, so don't feel as though you are obligated to speak to them. But remember, silence can be presumed consent. So that's why I use the mantra, I do not understand. Because the word understand means I don't comprehend what you're saying, because we haven't gone through a dictionary process. 2, I don't agree with what you're saying. So just be aware, you don't have any obligation to speak to these people. And just further brushing on the court thing, is that I appreciate some people have the tactic to not go into court. That's fine. I would like to attack this stone from many angles. But if we give them free rein over these so-called courts, and we don't challenge them on their own turf, they're going to continue to write all of this fraudulent stuff. So I think those that are capable, like you would say, we go to court, and I'm in court on Tuesday with hopefully a jury and a friend of mine. But those that are able to go to court, let's go on their turf and make it difficult for them.
This just reminded me of a little thing from the story earlier. So at one point, the magistrate in the piece of the council tax thing said, do you rent or own it? And I was thinking, looking at this silly trust thing, he's got a piece of paper, like, what? Oh, you mean where I live? Oh, I just rent. He was thinking about putting a charging order on my head. He's supposed to be a judge to adjudicate, he's not there to go prosecute me. He was livid because he knew I'd screwed him in advance. Because I don't have any income, I don't have any benefits, I'm funded by the public, I don't have any income to earnings attached to a normal thing, I don't own any property, my car's worth next to nothing. He's like, right? So, and I got publicity, and at this point he realised I'd outmaneuvered him. He had nothing on me. But not many people are in that position. I mean, I've got a pretty heavyweight educational professional background, and even for me, like, this is hard. There's a lot of people who you have to respect other people who've got their own internal limits to what they can cope with and what they can take. So one of the bad behaviours I see is people get all very on a high horse that someone is or isn't engaging with the court and the system, and we've all got our own little place to go. The psychopathic system is good for psychopaths. It works for psychopaths, contracts allow them to trust each other and love each other in their own little world, so don't knock it. I've also had good experiences, like in the High Court, with a really nice judge doing exactly the right thing for public interest. So don't try and rubbish the whole system either. It does serve a function, just it's not serving it right.
I think can I just say, I think there's something really important, and it's come up with a couple of people, including you, Donovan. You know, when you do stand up, right, and you keep standing up, there is in their mindset, it's going to cost them money to keep coming back to your house, it's going to cost them all sorts of, money to deal with you. They will go for the low-hanging fruit. They will always go for the low-hanging fruit, and they will move on. So it's just standing your ground and being able to stand your ground.
Can I just say something about, I totally agree with Dean that when I said don't go to court, I wasn't referring to people like Dean or Martin, I was referring to people who don't have their confidence, competence, influence, background. If you're new to all this and you think you're going to get tongue-tied, in other words, you're completely, you're not on the front line, maybe you will be one day, but right now you're not on the front line, then don't go to court. But I don't want to detract from what Dean and what Martin's done and what Dean is saying, because they're right. They're the exceptions that prove the rule. That's what I'm trying to say.
So I just want to, I've got a lot of questions here. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, Karen, is just, we'll come to your questions in a bit, but I'd like to just quick fire go through some of these. Some of them are questions that you've come with and we want to address them. So,
I'm sorry, could I add something that really ties in with this?
Yeah.
And move to the questions,
Yeah.
maybe you want to finish.
no, go on, fine.
I just wanted to say, on my personal experience, I was really not ready to go to court. And I wasn't really ready to stand down either. So I received some last minute help. And what happened for me was that Herman from the Herefordshire group, he helped me write a document which was called a motion to court. And I filed that on the morning of that was due in court. So it was a set of questions for the council to answer why they had made this request to me. And I gave them 28 days to answer. And they never answered me. They never acknowledged my papers. But they gave me a notice of liability, and all the posts that came after that was a standard. And I just said, please show me the evidence within 7 days, and if you can't do that, then I'll just take it. I'll take it that you don't have it. And that was the last I heard of it. So for me, that was just a miraculous thing that happened, that I took some action, but I didn't actually stand in court, and I would have gone to pieces if I had.
When was this? How long ago was it?
So this was in January. I was due to appear in early January this year.
Well
Yes.
done, you. Well done.
I think on another point, what's actually happening is that all our consciousness is raising, and just like you, people will come and help. And if you seek that help, people will come in. There are plenty of people out there who are in service. They're really in service, and and they want to help you. And if you actually put the question out there, they will come and help you. I don't think we're isolated anymore.
And can I ask those that do you like going to court? I know Dean, you were on a mission, weren't you?
Some people go to the seaside, I go to court.
Is the ice cream nice?
I just see that I've had loads of interactions with it throughout my life, so for me it has kind of lost the element of fear. You know, and don't go beyond where you're willing to go, because this stuff gets very real very quickly, but when you make that first step and then you make the second step, you'll realise that the fear isn't what it used to be, and slowly. So for me, yeah, it's just like holiday day out, learning experience. Because for someone like me to be in their courtrooms, it's like, I'm a very quick learner. I learn from not only what they say, but their actions. So I will learn everything that they have got to teach me. So
And
I like it.
there's going to be more people like you. I don't know if Martin enjoys going to court. Did you enjoy going to court? As an actually all going to court. Whoa, what shall I wear? Sort of thing.
I've been there in multiple different modalities.
Yeah.
Going to the High Court in London with a top quality judge for a public interest case, deciding jurisdiction, which is not itself an adversarial matter, was superb.
Yeah.
It was transformational for me.
Yeah.
In that, right, it's actually possible. It's real. Yeah. There's actually a man who's respectful, who's paying attention to what we were saying. His judgment was actually not the one he wanted, but he explained why it was going to go that way. It's like X. Yeah. So I think I've also had horrendous. I've actually got one judge accused for my TV licensing case. He was also a judge in a friend's case whose electricity case was severed. Horrific. It's been a year on generator. The judge refused to rule on standing, which is the core issue, over and over and over again. Anyway, I've met him and he's had me off my case. But watching him basically stand up there and persecute your mate, and break his oath, misconduct, but what he didn't realise was the guy sat next to my mate was me. And now he's got a bit of a problem. But not. I'm in a very, very new place.
Yeah.
As you said, I've got publicity.
But the point I'm trying to make is that I'm sitting next to two people that don't mind going to court, and I'm sure two perhaps wouldn't want to. But the numbers are growing. So when you take a stand, as Eli said, people will come forward. We are working in this new truth energy, this new vibration. We want to help each other.
So what did happen in that one with that judge was my friend, before the hearing, gives the Lord's Prayer, forgive them the trespasses. Right? It's, and I think that made all the difference because he couldn't be goaded. The judge was trying to goad him into reacting, getting angry, so he could kick him out, whatever, and he wouldn't do it. So you have to go in with the right thing in your heart, because these people are suffering themselves. They've been sucked into the psychopathic system, they've been compromised, they've been abused, they've been lied to. We'd like you to repent.
I did that in one of the court cases in Bristol. I actually wrote out my defence, I wrote a prayer. I put some scripture through it, but it followed the format of the Lord's Prayer. And when I was waiting in the waiting room to go in, and one of the police was going to give the evidence against me, I actually gave them some Bible tracts, and I gave it to the legal advisor of the judge, and the bench, two prosecutors, and the policeman. I gave them Bible tracts, and I gave them the Lord's Prayer. And that day, I had miracles that day. So,
It's called spelling. Spelling, yeah.
Should we have a question?
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is ask the question, and then any of the co-consultants who wants to answer that question. And I think because we've got quite a few questions, if somebody wants to jump up, we'll answer that question, then we'll go on to the next question. Is that all right? Yeah. So the first one is, when a property is held in an ecclesiastical trust, does the council have jurisdiction as regards to planning laws, provided no one else has adversely affected or not affected at all? Does the council have a legal or lawful right to impose planning laws on anyone?
No, I've got a question. It's not going to be on there, is it?
No.
When they say ecclesiastical, do they mean that the church owns it? Good question.
You asked the question.
Meaning,
is it the church?
As the church got it in their name. If the church has got it in their name, then they won't fall into the same category that all of those muggles fall into. It's a different level.
Right.
If you research churches and such things, they don't pay council tax. Why? Because they are on a different level.
Right. It also hints at something I came across, which is a new word to me, sub-infeudation. Right? So that different level, they're above us. They're like the feudal lord class. We're the serfs. And just like they have subcontractors in the corporate system, they have a feudal system, and the councils are acting as feudal agents of the crown, etc., in the Vatican. So they get their authority to take money off you for merely existing and seeking shelter, which ought to be an inalienable right, on the basis of sub-infeudation. That's what, and it all goes back to
that word? Sorry.
Sub SUB-INFEU station. Right, so it's fusion, right? It's like, and it all goes back to the Civil War.
Thank you.
And the Act of Indemnity and Oblivion, which was passed right after the Civil War, where the returning of the allodial title to the people was officially forgotten.
Is there any way we can create our own church?
Yep. Yes.
Because we've just done it.
We are. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, so therefore, can we not make that more official in that world? So,
Well, anything you make official is under the crown.
So how come these ecclesiastical,
They're in cahoots.
they're in cahoots?
They're in cahoots.
Well, Jim Humble created his own.
So they're given
A certain level of status.
So it's not in our interest to, because then that means we are.
I personally don't want to go to the king problem for anything.
No, that's what we'd have to do. Okay, thank you. So do you have another question?
I think Stephen will have some answer on that as well. Certainly some avenues. So the next one is there a time limit or compulsion to apply for probate after somebody dies, assuming that only beneficiary is the executor of the will?
Probate.
Yeah.
Probate is where somebody dies intestate, meaning no will, no trust, no nothing, and the government comes in like vultures and takes over the estate control. So that's intestate,
isn't it? Probate is when somebody has died and they've left a will.
Yeah, but the system falls into
The
probate.
system doesn't it?
Yeah, intestate is when somebody dies and they haven't got the will,
Yeah.
and it falls into the category of probate. So that's a question that doesn't quite make sense. Just read it out again.
Well, I think what they're saying is that is it compulsory for an estate to go into probate, first of all, and secondly, assuming the only beneficiary is the executor of the will. So, does everybody have to go into probate?
No. If you have a trust, whether that be private or official, then it won't fall into probate. If you have a trust, whether that is private or official, it won't fall into trust. It doesn't need to fall into probate. Sorry.
So just on the point of trust, because that's obviously a big subject. Does anybody here have any preferences on how to go about a trust? How would you do that?
Okay, so I started speaking in 2001, and I would only go very so far with the trusts, with basics. So, trustee, settlor, beneficiary. You've got to understand those things before you go any further. You've got to understand that relationship and what's going on, and the fact that it's just another fictional entity, like your name is a fictional entity. This is a really difficult point that people struggle on. So I don't go any further than that. Those three elements, you've got to understand it yourself. I don't like monkey see, monkey do. I like monkey to be able to understand what the other monkey is doing.
Yeah, it's a minefield of trust.
It is, and unfortunately it was created in the mid to early 1500s because the common law of England, common law, it couldn't be manipulated. So they had to bring in a new law called equity so that they could manipulate and compel muggles to do certain things.
Okay, so what could be created that would be protected?
You could create any type of trust,
Right.
put it in, and it wouldn't fall into probate.
And what is the alluvial aspect? 'Cause I've heard that
Well, at the moment you probably hold your house, if you own a house. If people do, you don't, in what's called freehold.
Right, yeah.
So that's like the third layer on the rung. So the top one is allodial. The second one is fee simple. The third one is freehold, which is where most of you probably are if you own the home. So with regards to allodial, what is it?
Well, I'm curious because I did hear something where you can ask when you're buying a house to have it under allodial, contract. But I don't know how anyone does that because my understanding is, I could be wrong, that if it's under allodial contract, basically no one can take that from you. If they want to put a road through it, they can't do it.
You can't ask for allodial.
Right.
You've got to take it.
Right.
That's what it is. It's got to be basically conquered. It's yours to do with you as you wish. You've got to be the king, basically,
Okay.
to have allodial.
Okay, and so you just say I'm king.
No, because you've already entered certain terms and agreements with regards to the property that you've bought or haven't bought. It's the fact that we were hoodwinked into these positions.
Okay. So if you're buying your place, you can't, or you can, or somehow, how do you, in other words, I don't want to buy it in the normal route, I want to buy it so I would be king.
Well, the first step that you would have to do is you would have to kill the king or queen.
Yeah. Is it true that, okay, you buy a house, whatever, and you've got it freehold, you've actually got the bricks and the mortar.
Freehold.
The land that it's on belongs to
It's not yours.
the monarch.
That's why they charge you the land rent,
Exactly.
which is called council tax. But to go further up, you need to actually have it as yours and not someone else's.
Well, that's
Which
what I'm
is
trying
fee
to understand how it
simple.
goes, how that.
F-E-E-S-I-M-P-L-E, fee simple. I know it doesn't even sound like a word, but look it up, it is. Fee, F-E-E, fee simple.
Can
you demand?
How do you do that? What do you do to get us all safe in our property?
Sorry, say that again.
How do we keep ourselves safe in our property?
Well, you know when they used to build moats around castles, they had all over them, they used to have to protect it themselves.
Yeah. Sorry.
So in theory, if enough people got together and built a moat and just said we are looking at that's what we can do.
Well, to get all over your title, like I said, you have to conquer it.
I don't want an title from anybody. This is
Exactly, it's the title.
This is what you're misunderstanding, right? My premise is always the same. I'm in England. They're in the UK, they're in England and Wales, they're in any other jurisdiction except England. Right? I'm a man on the soil and land of England. So when it comes to property, I'll go, well, that property there, I wouldn't take from someone who's already in it. You find a building that's empty for whatever, it's what they do, they put a fence around it and they go, it's abandoned property. When the bailiffs turn up over there and they evict you and throw you out, the council go, oh, it's abandoned property.
Yeah.
That's how they treat it. So they change the locks, they go, belongs to us now.
Yeah.
And they do a notice. And what we do, and what I do with a friend, when we do notice of abandonment, no, you do notice of possession, notice of abandonment, notice to quit. And then if no one's challenged it, because they can't challenge it because it's not in their jurisdiction, it's in our jurisdiction, it belongs to the people of England. It's not to me, right? It's not my property, it's the property of England.
Right.
It belongs to the people of England. We, the people, are sovereign.
Right.
They can't challenge that. That's what we're doing now, that's what's happening.
Can I just say that when repossessions take place,
Yeah.
if you have enough people with enough bravery, they can just be stopped because
Yeah.
you just sit there.
Okay.
You just sit there. They can't repossess an occupied. In other words, you give evidence that it's not being abandoned. Because if you allow them, if you allow the fear to kick in, and most people do,
Yeah.
then they go, oh, I can't take this anymore, and you leave the place empty, right? Then it's again presumption of abandonment.
Is there by chance, sorry, a central hub where people can come together and help each other out in this regard?
This is a decentralised system.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking.
This is people learning from everybody
Yeah.
and then creating. We're in some ways, we're always at the beginning of the process, but it's coming to the fore now. That's why this is taking place, because enough people are waking up and going, we're just not going to do that anymore. What's the solution? What's the solution? So solutions are being created. You may end up in a group of people that creates a solution that none of us have found yet. So be part of the community, form a community, find the community, join in and create something with them, and that's the way forward.
There's a gentleman that has his hand up.
I was going to say, England is the only country in the world where you cannot claim a loan.
Can't claim what?
A low deal.
Well, you cannot. Don't leave it there.
Well, I've got a rebuttal to that. If you was to form your own military and take over the King's military, who would stop you from getting the all-over and doing whatever the hell you wish?
If you dissolve the crown,
Yeah,
monarch, you can now reclaim a loan.
yeah. So that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Instead of the crown won't give it to you, which is what I was trying to say to you.
Dean, can you explain exactly in layman's terms what a loan means?
Allodial is obviously a title, which as Peter said, it was something that the king would give to you. Right? But then it would have to be protected. You would protect it yourself and you'd drill a moat round it. But then, once the king needed you, he would then call upon you and then you would protect the land in its entirety. But to say the word allodial is like there's another step, but there's no word for it. Is that you own it outright. That's it. But the word allodial is what people use. Go on, Rosa.
Yeah, I just have, my flat is leasehold, what does that mean? And every once in a while we'll get a letter saying you owe.
Can you stand up, please?
Yeah.
So we can get thank you.
My flat is leasehold.
Leasehold.
And every once in a while we'll get a letter saying you owe 20 quid.
There's
And-
rent.
Yeah, but those letters stopped because the office that sent them has shut down. Russell.
Is this your managing agent? Is it a managing agent or a council that's sending you these requests?
Fusel Wright.
It's a managing agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So
like
I haven't paid them for years, so I don't know if one day it's going to come up again. And I'm going to have to pay it back.
John Lewis?
I mean, I wouldn't pay it, but,
If it doesn't affect you, Rosa, I think, well, then it's not affecting.
but my flat, I paid off my mortgage. Does that mean that my flat is not mine because I still owe this money for the land which I haven't paid?
Okay, so if the debt, this so-called debt of £20 a month or whatever it was that we're charging you, if that debt comes in your name, the name of the debtor, it would be wise, prudent to change the flat's land registry name. I assume that it's on the land registry.
Yeah, I just recently finished paying it off. So
Okay,
I'm
so
waiting to
is it unregistered or is it registered with the land registry?
I would imagine it's registered.
Registered with the land registry.
Yeah.
So it would be wise or prudent to do some background work first to avoid possibility of the future when they've totaled up all of those £20 a month, so that if a debt comes, it comes in your name, but the property, your flat, isn't in the debtor's name. So they won't be able to attach the debt to the property because it will be in a different fictional name.
Okay.
And then there's also, once you do that, you can also fill out a form called the RX1, which will then put some restrictions on it. And basically it's like first come, first served. First in time, best in line is what you're doing if you put an RX1 restriction on it.
Thank you.
Have a look into re-registering yourself as the authority as well. So,
Deregistering myself.
re-registering yourself as the authority, and then you won't get council tax. Yeah, this is Michael Benessi, I think, you do this on a YouTube interview, I think with Richard Vobes. So, when it says authority, your solicitor puts in the name of the local council. Well, they should put your name in, and then you'll get the odd invoice for roadworks. Well, then that's fair because they're repairing the roads in front of your house. But it'll be divvied up with 1,000 other things, so it should be nothing rather than a general council tax. So take the council's authority away from that property by changing the name of the authority to you.
I just wanted to touch on what Pete said. One of the things that I feel is happening is none of us have got all the answers, but all of us have got all the answers. Yeah. So I just want to say that individually, not a chance.
It's a team game.
Because these guys, they're unpicking, let's say, thousands of years of artificial overlays on the natural scheme of things. And so we have all the answers, we've got all the answers between us, and we will find each other.
So let's just do one more question and break for lunch. It's really
Okay, so
just highlight something. So when you have a payment outside your house and they give you a address.
Sorry, can you put your mic to the audience? You stand up.
When you have
Can you stand up?
fine. So when you have a payment outside your property and you've got the address is an easement. It's not your actual property. So if your technology, your sewage company says because you've got burst pipe, it's actually on your land it's over the boundary. Electricity, gas, telecoms. If it's in that bit, you're accountable for the cost of it. When it's on the easement side, which is outside the boundary of the property, they are responsible for it. So one of the things you can do, and Anna von Wright says this as well, if anyone doesn't know who Anna von Wright is, look her up on annavonwright.com. She says you can actually do your own boundary survey, yeah? And then also what you can do is you can take each corner, so you can measure it all, so you can get a tape measure, depending on how big it is, you know how big a tape measure you need, or you can do it with an app. And then you can lawfully record that. We're going to be talking about lawfully recording things, not actually means to be in the system at all, to get out of the jurisdiction completely, then you remove yourself from all the shit. But what you can have a post, for example, like a square post, square-shaped physical post, bang it in, have the number of the easement address on the outside, so it would be number 2, for example, and then you change on the other side, you have a different, then you might call it a name. It might be called Jacaranda Avenue or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, it's just Jacaranda. Yeah? And then you lawfully record that in advance. So all they're doing is, what they're talking about is actually the easement. It's not your property, it's all done by projection and deceit. Everything's done by projection and deceit. Because they're trying to push this on us. So if you lawfully record it, which is what we are doing with our process of actually getting under jurisdiction altogether, then none of their legislation applies to you. It's a corporate policy that applies to people in their business. They've just projected it onto
It's an overlay. It's an artificial overlay. Yeah. This question here is the last question before. Yeah. So it actually relates. It's quite a long question, but I'll go through it. I've just discovered a few feet in my garden is unregistered with Land Registry. I discovered this because someone owning neighbouring land is claiming adverse possession despite my using the 5 or 6 feet of ground for 3 years since I moved there. Last week this person making the claim destroyed everything in the garden, driving a vehicle at a friend and removing everything from my bit of the garden and dumping it in my drive. Police have not responded it. They say, I know it's complex stuff, but is there anything that prevents someone who is used force in these situations from making a claim? Can this person really proceed with the claim for adverse possession?
Well, you've got potential 2 issues there. First is like the civil claim, is that you would probably, if there is a dispute between 2 people, then civil claim take it to the court. But you can't decide because that's arbitrary. You've got to take it to a third party. Who are you going to take it to? Well, you've got to really realistically take it to the court. Ideally, get a jury present. That would be the first part. And then second part of that is if there's somebody that has caused harm, injury or loss, damaged property or whatever, then that's a criminal matter and that can obviously be taken up through the police. And then if not through the police, you can take it through to the court yourself through a private prosecution. So that's the 2 points.
So, Karen, do you want to go first now?
Does anybody want to say any other comments on that last one?
Well, yes, I did want to add to what Stephen was saying. So, and reiterate what I was saying before, that they're in a world of presumption and they're in a world that's on the seas of commerce. We're on the land and soil, and you can confirm that by going through a process, which Stephen will tell you about later. So, to get onto your land and soil, they need to get you to accept their easement by agreeing that you are at that address and then boom, they're in. So it's as if they were on a ship and you've allowed them to dock at your dry dock. That's basically it. So I'm using this analogy so that we can get more clarity, because at the end of the day it's about clarity, coherence and clarity. Once you get clarity, then you're already undoing the trans. You're transcending, trans-ending. Right? Yeah, and that's what transcendence is. It's coming out of the trance. That's all it is.
Well, I'm in a trance,
yeah. and adding some much needed reality to your lives and rebutting presumptions. And so this is all we're doing. This is what the panel did. We've just maybe rebutted more presumption than anyone else. But once upon a time, you know, we were in the trance and we're just coming out of it. So it's a collective journey, and the more of us do it, the easier it will be for all of those that follow on.
So just to clarify one point here, right? So I'm going to ask this question. It's a critical question I ask quite a lot. Can any one of our bodies live inside the thickness of a sheet of paper?
No.
No. Can anyone across the whole planet's body live inside a piece of paper? No. Right. So the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Northern Ireland is a corporation, which is a piece of paper. It's a fake country. Australia is a fake country. It's a corporation, 6 islands offshore. It does not exist on the landmass that people perceive to be Australia. It's all been done by brainwashing. All the countries across the planet are fake. They're corporations listed with their respective company's house or equivalent. All the governments are fake. They're corporations as well. So Wales is part of the Principality of England. England and Scotland apparently joined together. Yeah, there's 2 different corporations. There were no people inside it. Right? This goes back in history. You can check it. Legislation is there, and there were 2 different entities, 2 different jurisdictions as well. So when you understand what I've just said to you, and you really actually take it on board completely, you cannot physically live inside a piece of paper. Everything they're doing is fake. And when you grasp that, it all falls apart. It's like, if you tell truth, fear just smashes. Yeah? So just understand that, and it all falls apart. So we claimed England's land and soil in 2022. And we've informed them about it, and they haven't been able to rebut it. Why haven't they been able to rebut it or acknowledge it? Because it's truth, it's fact. So we own the jurisdiction for England, the land and soil for England. Yeah.
Who is we?
Yeah.
The people, the people who did this, we were standing in the right jurisdiction. He's the first man to return home to that jurisdiction, did that, and part of our team did that in, not last January, the January before.
What team are you in?
So it's the English Counties Assembly, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'll give you a bit more information about that later on. And there is a possibility coming for that for every man and woman. But you have to change the status from being deemed to be legally dead, because every one of us has, and every baby born has been legally deemed dead since about 1666. Think how evil that actually is. And that's been rolled out across the whole planet.
And the year, I love the year.
And there's what I held up before, is my new ID card. So it says English County National Credentials, lawful name David Mark Adelman, copyright symbol, nationality English, not British, English, home county Kent, issuing authority of the Kent Assembly, born, not date of birth, born, and then on the back, a piece, valid for all travel and identification purposes, a peaceful private English county national, do not stop, detain or interrogate, claim the right to bear arms, that's another right that we've got, if we choose to, visible or concealed. So, and there's a QR code. Once more people are status corrected, then we'll trade with each other, even if we are never able to translate them into fiat. Why would we want to be quite honest? But then we'll be trading with each other using QR codes and global prosperity. So it's all very exciting.
Are you going to talk more about that?
Yeah.
Well, Steve, that's why he's here.
So it's now 1:20 past. I suggest we break and get back here for